Chicago, Illinois, and Marion Wilson from Washington, D.C. And, of course, there's the record of the two combatants, 10-0 for Bean, while Marion Wilson, 8-6, weighing in, Bean at 222, Wilson at 209. Now let's look at the boxing rules for the state of New Jersey. Of course, the 3 knockdown rule is in effect. They have the standing 8 count. Ringside physician can stop the fight. The 10-point must system is in effect, and the boxer cannot be saved by the bell in any round. Let's go up to our ring announcer, Ed Darien, for the particulars.
From the beautiful Copa Room here at the sensational Sands Hotel and Casino in the boxing capital of the world of Atlantic City, New Jersey, Butch Lewis Productions and BET Sports, in association with the Sands, proudly present this evening's big professional boxing card, which is being approved by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board. The Honorable Larry Hazard, Senior Commissioner. The Honorable Jerry Gormley, Chairman. Members of the board include Gary Shaw and Al Daniels. Lawrence Wallace is our Deputy Commissioner. The Chief Physician in attendance at ringside this evening is Dr. Frank B. Doggett, along with Dr. Charles E. Wilson and Dr. Eric A. Wormser. The timekeeper to bell is Earl Curry. Counting for the knockdown seconds, alternate referee James Condon. The judges, Rocky Castellani, Paul Venti, and Eugene Grant. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 6-round heavyweight bout, referee Tony Orlando. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals. First, in the blue corner, wearing the gold trunks with the black trim. He weighed in at an even 209 pounds. He has 8 wins and 6 losses. From our nation's capital of Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome aboard Marion Jackhammer Wilson. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the black trunks with the gold trim. Now he tipped in at an even 222 pounds. Now get a load of this. This fella is undefeated in 10 pro bouts with 7 knockouts. All the way from Chicago, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the Sands Hotel and Casino, Vicious Vaughn Bean. Bean.
You know what to do. Take it off. Okay. All right, gentlemen.
Elmer, tell me a little bit about these guys. Is it must that you have a name, a nickname, Jackhammer and Vicious, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if your name is Marion, you want to have a name like Jackhammer anyway.
Here's the tail of the tape. As you see, Wilson is 31 years of age, so he's giving up some numbers there. Bean has the weight advantage, and, of course, his record speaks for itself. 7 knockouts in 10 professional fights. Van Bean told me earlier that his strength, he feels, he's in the black trunks, is his left hook.
And right from the beginning, you can see that he is attempting to get in position to throw the left hook. He has thrown actually more hooks than jabs off of the left side.
Marion Wilson, on the other hand, one of those young men who's 31 years of age, feels like even though he's a little older, he still has the tools to get the job done.
And he may very well have. At 31 years old is not old for a heavyweight. A heavyweight who's been fighting on a regular basis at 31 years old is actually just in his prime. Smaller fighters by this time are starting to wear down.
All by the wayside. George Foreman and Larry Holmes are good examples of that, right? In fact, he even told me that he feels better at the age of 31 than he did when he was 21. So that could be a tribute to his physical stability and the fact that he's keeping himself in pretty good shape.
He has taken a number of good body shots. Vaughn Bean, who is the shorter fighter, although he has a tendency to be kind of straight up until he gets inside. When he gets inside, he goes down. But Vaughn Bean has been fairly effective at landing from both sides to the body of Marion Wilson.
You talk about heavyweights that are out there now, and we'll get into it as the fight goes along. You know, it's interesting that there are not a lot of big names in boxing at all now. I mean, the average fight fan, when you look at the names that are out there, cannot just name off the champions in each weight class.
That's right.
Years ago, you could say, well, I know who the welterweight is, the heavyweight, the middleweight, and things of this nature. And it was quite easy to find somebody you could identify with. Even the average non-boxing aficionado could do that.
That's
right. Hard to do these days.
It's awful hard to do, but that makes it a land of opportunity for young fighters who really know what they're doing out there and who have the stamina and the will to keep at it. Somebody's going to emerge. There will always be a name in boxing. This is one of those periods, as you say, when there are few really household names, but there will be one or two names emerging. Any one of these young fighters can sort of catapult himself into that position.
And what Vaughn Bean has going for him, probably more so than his opponent tonight, Marion Wilson, is the fact that he's 20 years of age.
That's right. He is 20 years of age and a sharp puncher.
End of round one.
What I tell you about that? Now.
This is a heavyweight bout. Vaughn Bean in the black trunks, fighting out of Chicago, Illinois, going against the young man Marion Wilson, the jackhammer from Washington, D.C. Weighed in at 209, the man in the gold trunks with the black stripe.
Right now, the jackhammer shots are being thrown by Vaughn Bean, who has a tendency to lean in and to really leverage his body shots well. He's landing good shots from the underneath, not doing nearly as well upstairs, and I wonder if he might not do a little bit better for setting up his combinations if he were to work that jab a little bit more on the way in. Every shot that he has thrown virtually is a looping shot. He loops the right hand. He throws body hooks downstairs. He throws very little in the way of straight punches.
And speaking of, again, the heavyweight division, we know that Evander Holyfield has a date with Michael Moore. That should be very interesting. Manuel Stewart has worked with both of those fighters, and he's not working with Evander for this one.
Yes, that's a very interesting fight. Michael Moore is a very fine puncher and always has a puncher's chance. I think he's probably just a bit overmatched here in this fight. I will never, ever handicap against the champion unless he's in with somebody who is clearly better. Evander Holyfield will never lose to a man that's not better than he is. Which may sound self-evident, but if you think back in boxing, you'll see a lot of fights that have gone ways that they should not have. You can never think of that happening with Evander Holyfield.
In the meantime, here at the Sands Copa Room, under a minute to go in round number 2. Bean against Wilson. Bean in the black trunks. Wilson in the gold. Wilson is the youngest of 14 kids, had 10 brothers. So he's accustomed to fighting, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We note that his record shows that he has 63 amateur fights. Most of those were outside the bathroom at his mother's house.
He's throwing a lot of punches at his Bean, but not a lot of landing.
No, but he's being fairly effective, though, because his body punches are landing with regularity.
A couple good body shots there.
And it's actually a simple but not a bad fight plan. If he continues to deliver that shot downstairs, he will.
We're midway through this scheduled 6-rounder. Charlie Neal ringside, along with Elmer Smith, the boxing guru or boxing maven who's been around this fight game a long time. And of course, we have 2 game heavyweights in the ring right now. And Vaughn Bean, Marion Wilson. In the first 2 rounds, you would probably right now give the edge to Vaughn Bean. Not any question.
Without question, Vaughn Bean landed the most punches, the heaviest punches, and he was the aggressor in the fight. And he was effectively aggressive. Marion Wilson, on the other hand, it seems to me has come out in a little bit more of an attitude of aggression himself this round. He sort of bills himself in an earlier conversation with you, Charlie, as a sort of cross between Mike Tyson and Pinklin Thomas. Hard for me to see the Mike Tyson analogy, but he talks about the cut of his body being like Pinklin Thomas's. If he were to land a jab like Pinklin Thomas, he'd be all right. A lot more effective.
You can see it.
But the total package is what he needs, right?
Keep stepping. Keep stepping. Keep stepping.
Vaughn Bean says has a style a lot like Mike Tyson, power puncher, but he doesn't have a lot of speed. His speed he would rate as medium.
Which makes him very unlike Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a phenomenon not just for his punching power, but in my estimation, especially for his hand speed.
Little low shot with the right. Tony Orlando had to warn him, the referee.
Yeah, that first one was marginal, you know. The next one hit him in the middle of the hip. A good left hook that time from Vaughn Bean, who caught Marion Wilson dropping his hand there, which is something that Marion Wilson has not done very much of. We have to give him credit at least for coming in with his hands up. And one of the reasons that Vaughn Bean has been reduced to a body attack, frankly, is because Marion Wilson has not given him very much upstairs to shoot at.
You hear the corner from Vaughn Bean trying to get him to step back after he gets into a clutch there with his opponent, Wilson. Good overhead right by Vaughn Bean.
Watch your head, Marion. Come on.
You know what's so interesting about being able to do fights like this? Of course, we know what to expect when we see the Lennox Lewises and the Michael Moores and Holyfields and Riddick Bowes, but it's watching these guys, these up-and-coming fighters, who we don't know because we don't have a crystal ball whether they will ever amount to anything in terms of big-time championship. Well, let's as we look at Vaughn Bean in his corner and I'm talking to him, let's look at a little of the action from round number 3.
Now you notice here that Marion Wilson is trying to affect his uppercuts, but you have to give Vaughn Bean credit for just enough upper torso movement to make those body shots miss.
Round 4, scheduled for 6. Following this one, we'll have another heavyweight. We'll feature a young man by the name of Al Williams from Arlington, Virginia, originally from Newport News. And he'll be going against a guy, a very interesting young man named Butch Kelly from Baltimore, Maryland. I'll tell you more about that later.
I'd like to pick up on a point that you were making at the close of the last round, Charlie, and I think it's an interesting one, in that you're right, fighters of this ilk is the sort of BET meet. We have brought you people over the years, very much like Bernard Hopkins, who is our main event tonight, who fought almost half his career as an up-and-coming fighter on BET. When he fought for the World Championship, regular watchers of BET had been watching this young man fight for a couple of years. Stevie Little, a stablemate of Bernard Hopkins, won the junior middleweight title over in London this very day, and he is a fighter whose career moved along the airways to our viewers over BET.
Speaking of heavyweights, yesterday Muhammad Ali celebrated the 30th anniversary of his win over Sonny Liston down in Miami, and the champ is still going strong.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Round number 4, scheduled for 6. Charlie Neal and Elmer Smith here ringside. We're at the Sands Hotel and Casino in the Copa Room in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Under a minute and a half remaining in round number 4. And so far, Vaughn Bean, the young man from Chicago, Illinois, is the clear leader in this one.
That's right. This is another round that follows pretty much the same pattern as the others. He is winning the round largely with downstairs work. He's been very effective in leveraging his body punches. But I noticed here in the last round or two that he's been able to establish the jab just a little bit better.
1 minute, 45 seconds to go. And Vaughn Bean told me that he liked Joe Louis. That was one of his idols. One of the reasons he liked his style, he liked his personality, and also the fact that Joe Louis was a very humble person, and he feels like he's in the same light in terms of that.
Hold it. Get back quick.
Orlando steps in, under 10 seconds to go in round number 4. Could be a fairly even round here.
A little bit more even than past rounds, but I still would have to give the edge in this round to Vaughn Bean, Charlie.
Number 5 scheduled for 6 heavyweight championship bout here. Not a championship bout. Let me go back a little bit. Heavyweight bout. We do have a USBA championship fight coming up. The USBA champion, that is Bernard the Executioner Hopkins, in the middleweight division. He'll be taking on Melvin Wynn. And right now it's Vaughn Bean against Marion Wilson. And Charlie Neal along with Elmer Smith ringside. And so far on our unofficial card, Bean is the clear leader. Although Marion Wilson has stepped up his attack a little bit. He did at least in round number 4.
He has stepped up his attack, and he has again returned to the more aggressive role at the start of this round. He is pressing the fight a bit more. He's trying to throw a little bit more straight punches than he had been in the earlier rounds. I can't say that it's been a good deal more effective for him, frankly, at this point.
You know, talking to Marion Wilson earlier, I asked him, I said, what is your strength as a boxer? And he says, well, I feel like I'm a graceful fighter. He feels he has the fastest right hand and the strongest jab in boxing. But it's interesting how people perceive themselves as opposed to the way other people perceive them.
Does he really? The fastest and the strongest.
And I asked him, I said, well, what do you feel you have to work on? Everyone has weaknesses. He says, I have no weaknesses.
That's incredible. Vaughn Bean apparently was not at that interview earlier today, Charlie. He seems to be exploiting what looked like weaknesses here. Apparently he didn't hear you talking with Marion Wilson earlier in the day. Again, very effective with the body shots. Marion Wilson certainly seems to have the body to take it. He's sucked it up. He doesn't seem to be slowed down at all by what is really a fairly withering body attack.
You know, it's interesting because Marion Wilson had 60 amateur fights. In fact, he was a regional champion.
This clearly is another region.
Round number 5 about to come to an end. This one looks like it's going to go the distance. Neither fighter has been in any kind of real danger tonight.
No danger at all, no.
Vaughn Bean has not seemingly been in that much control, although he is winning on points. But he's not necessarily overpowered his opponent. Marion Wilson, in the meantime, has hung tough.
He has
Not been in danger.
Has not been in danger, but he's losing the rounds convincingly. A couple of the rounds have been closer than some of the others, but clearly, Marion Bean, I'm sorry,
This guy's momentum is leaning on you.
Vaughn Bean has won the round.
Rain his punches, Daddy. Come on. You can hit this guy wherever you can.
Now, I think there's one thing that coming out of this fight, Vaughn Bean's corner may want to question, and that is whether or not he is punching effectively.
Here's Bean. Overhead right. Right hook.
Remember, March 18
Put the side of the head of his opponent Marlon Wilson. I want to remind you, our viewers, that basketball will also be coming your way later on. It's after our boxing tonight here on BET. We'll have college basketball, Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference style, and it'll be coming from Orangeburg, South Carolina. In fact, it'll be the Bulldogs of South Carolina State against Morgan State, the Bears. That's following our telecast here from Atlantic City, so stay tuned. Doubleheader sports action tonight right here on BET. In the meantime, round 6, scheduled for 6. Vaughn Bean, Marion Wilson. Bean, a little aggressive coming out here at the start of round number 6. Ahead on points right now on our unofficial scorecard.
Yeah, all in all, a pretty good show for Vaughn Bean this time out. I think over the last couple of rounds, he's been more effective upstairs than he had been earlier. He established his chances to bring down Marion Wilson's hands by dropping those body shots in on him early, and it has started to pay some dividends.
We talked about the fact that Vaughn Bean, in addition to his 10-0 record, has 7 knockouts. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be any knockout here tonight. He hasn't been able to get in position, or let's say this, Marion Wilson has not allowed him to get in position to knock him out.
Now, Marion Wilson is obviously in very good shape. He's in very good condition, and is not a fighter who is likely to go down to anything other than an absolutely devastating punch, which at this point doesn't seem to me that Vaughn Bean is likely to be able to land. But it's a good outing, Charlie, I think, for Vaughn Bean. He has worked well inside. He's kept his hands moving. He's been a busy fighter, an aggressive fighter. He's been very effective downstairs and has defended himself well enough from the occasional flurries of Marion Wilson. Wilson has not been effective, tremendously effective as a puncher, but he's been effective in terms of applying pressure. His torso is leaned forward. He's constantly coming at him. He does not give you much upstairs to shoot at, and you can't afford not to keep your hands and your body moving just a little bit.
Because he can be dangerous and might, just when you think you have an opening, you'll find yourself laying on your back.
So this is not an easy fight. It's a fight that Vaughn Bean has acquitted himself well. I think he will come away from this having learned the lessons necessary to take him to the next step.
Vicious Vaughn Bean against Marion Jackhammer Wilson, and this one about to come to a close, the 6th and final round of this scheduled 6-round heavyweight bout from the Sands Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. And we're in the Copa Room. I'm Charlie Neal along with Elmer Smith, and we'll be back with the decision from Ed Darien, our ring announcer, in just a moment. This one is all over. Vaughn Bean and Wilson. And let's go to Ed Darien for the announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the scoring right here, and here it is. Judges Paul Venti and Eugene Grant each score 60-54, while Judge Rocky Castellani, he observed 60-56 for the winner by unanimous decision, and still undefeated, Vicious Vaughn Bean. Bean.
And a nice round of applause for Marion Jackhammer Wilson. Let's hear it.
So the Jackhammer falls to 8-7, while Vaughn Bean increases his record to 11 and make that 11-0 with a unanimous decision and a win tonight. Young man out of Chicago, Illinois, out of the Windy City, travels to Atlantic City and comes out with a big victory. And he's coming over to join Elmer Smith and I at our ringside position right now. And we'll be talking to him and talking about some of the things that he told us earlier today. Of course, we talked about 7-0 as his record, his style. He said he was a boxer puncher, felt his strength was the left hook.
Over. Vaughn Bean, a nice fight tonight. I thought you acquitted yourself well. You were energetic. It was a 6-round fight. You fought strong all the way through, but you didn't land a knockout puncher. You're a little disappointed that you were unable to wobble him or hurt him at any point during the fight.
First, I like to say all praises due to God. And yeah, I tried to load up a lot of times, and I should have used my speed, but I was trying to get him out of there, you know. get some respect.
Now, the body shot seemed very effective. You were able to land with both hands downstairs. Inside, could you sense that you were doing damage with the body shots?
Yeah, I sensed I was doing damage, but he was lower than me. He was almost to my jockey strap, so I had to try to get the outside shots in there. You know, it was really hard.
Did you come in with a plan originally to beat him downstairs?
Yeah, I came in trying to work him over downstairs, but that's my attack plan. You know.
Today we mentioned the Jersey Joe Walcott, and he can be remembered for being a great champion, and he will be long remembered. And of course, he was the former boxing commissioner for the state of New Jersey, and a lot of people